What's up, AP Huge? Coming at you today with a super quick video on multinational versus multi-ethnic states. So multinational and multi-ethnic are pretty much exactly what they sound like. Multi meaning many, and then you have to look at the definition of national or nation and the definition of ethnicity. So if you look in your Quizlet, you'll see that multinational means a state that contains two or more ethnic groups with traditions of self-determination that agree to coexist peacefully by recognizing each other as distinct nationalities. Now, notice that difference. So we're talking nation here. I mean, even in English, we tend to use a nation as synonymous with country. So you kind of think along those lines and you start to understand what a multinational state is. It's a state that has groups of people who agree to coexist, but don't really think of themselves necessarily as part of the greater country. They don't think of it as theirs necessarily. They have that tradition of self-determination, which is they have this tradition of thinking of themselves as their own country, even though they're part of a bigger country. So you might think of this as people who would much rather govern themselves and have their own country than be in someone else's. Okay? Multi-ethnic means pretty much exactly what it says. It's a country that has, let's say a state that contains more than one ethnicity. That's it. So the big difference that you see here between the two is that one has just multiple ethnicities, where you think of them as being much more blended with each other than in a multinational state. In a multinational state, that's where you see like one nation lives here and the other nation lives here, and yeah, there's some crossover, but they really just kind of agree to be on their own, even though they're all one thing. Multi-ethnic is where all those ethnicities are really combined, like kind of more fully combined than in a multinational place. So let's take Canada as an example. For all of them, you could argue that they are more one than another, but most countries will have a little bit of both. So you just kind of want to look at what's more or less. So Canada, we can definitely consider multinational for two big reasons. The first, as I'm sure was the first to come to your mind, was the French and British nationalities, essentially, where, oops, let's put this over here, where Quebec is mostly French and the rest of Canada is mostly British. Okay, so you might think of that as multinational because they agree to coexist. Quebec is considered a province, essentially a state of Canada, um, and they exist within the greater kind of British whole. However, you could also say that sorry. Let's go back to multinational really quick. The other big thing for multinationalism in Canada is the Native American tribes, same as in the United States, but they had a different name, or they're given a different name in Canada, which I actually really kind of like. It's the idea of the First Nations. They don't call them Native Americans, they don't call them Indians, they call them First Nations, which you really got to appreciate what they're saying there. They are the First Nations, so the first people who lived there and have traditions of self-determination, thinking of themselves as independent from each other and independent from Canada as a whole. Okay, so traditions of self-determination. On the other hand, Canada is also very multi-ethnic because they have largely the same ethnic breakdown as we do in the United States. There are a lot of people that the people of African descent, lots of people of Asian descent, lots of people of European descent, and so on and so on. So if you were to just look at a picture of Canadian people, of a crowd in Canada, it would look very similar ethnically, or racially, like color of skin. It would look very similar to a picture of the United States. So multi-ethnic as well. Now, I would argue that Canada is more multi-ethnic than multinational because throughout the country, the entire population tends to be made up of more of a multiplicity of ethnicities, and they tend to be less divided. However, that French-British divide is big and the First Nations divide is big. So you can make the argument either way. Okay, multinational versus multi ethnic. Hopefully that helps. See y'all next time.